Hi vinyl community, this is a response video to James Griffiths, that's the vinyl professor in the UK. He did a video recently on how he organises his collection. I've just watched it and it has inspired me to make this video. Just before I start, this is what I'm listening to at the moment. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I'm on a massive Dylan kick, principally because of his new box set, which I have yet to get, but I definitely will pick it up. It's on his gospel years. But this is definitely one of my favourite Dylan albums, the soundtrack to Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which I've been listening to ad nauseum over the last number of days. And I always consider it with and in tandem with this Ry Cooder soundtrack, Ry Cooder and David Lindley on guitars. It's Paris, Texas soundtrack. I always consider them a binary. Whenever I listen to Pat Garrett, I want to listen to Paris, Texas and vice versa. It's a lovely soundtrack to the Wim Wenders movie. Beautiful, desolate, windswept music, campfire if you like. And to take that a little bit further, this one I've been spinning as well, which is very, very much going into the equation and of the other two, Eddie Vedder's soundtrack to Into the Wild. So three soundtracks that match together for two very specific reasons. One is the desolate kind of theme tune to the music, and also the fact that they're all three of them are soundtracks. And while I was at that, this is some VCLT, which I'll do in a video after I come back from Canada. I'm going to Canada tomorrow, and I'm going to meet the elusive Bobby Gass, and also hope to meet Raoul and Mark as well. So this was gifted to me VCLT style, part of a very generous package by my great buddy in London. That is Mark Williams, and this is a comp that he gave me of Burning Spear. And inspired by him, I picked this one up recently, which is Eddie Harris's Is It In? It's kind of jazz funk, just lovely stuff. And that's basically, I picked that one up in tribute to you, Mark, with your lovely All Points radio station, which I've been listening to, and has provided great musical solace to me. Okay, how I organise my collection? Well, it's quite simple the way that I do it, me being a simple bloke, is that I do it alphabetically on many different levels. So the first one would be by genre name. So I do it electronic first. So I consider electronic music to be a genre in itself and not a subset of rock music. So electronic is first, then followed by folk, general folk if you like. And that goes the whole way across here until we reach our first subset, which is acid folk. Sorry, it's a bit dark in here. And the next subset is folk jazz. So folk jazz would comprise John Martin and Pentangle, etc., whereas acid folk would be something entirely different, Incredible String Band, etc. Now I have these separators at the bottom indicating that they're a subgenre. So acid folk and folk jazz are both subsets of folk, which would be the main genre. So within each of these sections, say for example the Bert Jansch ones that we're looking at now, I organise them alphabetically by genre, and then alphabetically by artist, and then in sequence for the release date. So the last Bert Jansch one, for example, would be this box set, On the Edge of a Dream Part 2, which was the one that was recently issued. Whereas the very first Bert Jansch record would be the self-titled one, I presume. Yeah. Okay, so the next one I've got then, the next section I've got is hip-hop. So obviously the fact that the separator is on top indicates that it's a genre in and of itself. And it continues the whole way across here to here. And then the jazz section starts. Jazz obviously being a genre in itself, so the separator's on top, continues here. Now James, you go down, but I go across and then down. Sounds like that JFK movie. Back and to the left, back and to the left, magic bullet. Okay, then we come to the first subgenre of jazz, and that's by label. So I've got BYG, Bobby's favourite label, ECM, Impulse and Other. Now I wouldn't need much of a prompt to pick out Impulses, you know, this very distinctive orange and black livery of their labels. And my other jazz then would be labels that I collect. The white spines there are Anders in Stockholm. That's his label. I've only got 3 of them, I think, but I will look to collect that label, and also Black Jazz and the Black Saint label as well, etc. So the next subgenre is fusion, which is obviously a subgenre of jazz. That continues all the way over to here. And then we've got spiritual jazz, which is clearly a subgenre as well. And then we move to soul funk, which I consider to be a genre in and of itself and nothing else, not a subgenre. And that continues to here. There's just one cubicle of that. And then we come to krautrock. Now, krautrock is obviously a subgenre of general rock, but K comes before R, hence it appears before it. And then it comes to modern, classical and new age, both of which I consider to be genres in and of themselves and not subgenres of anything else. For example, subgenres of classical music. Then another subgenre, prog, followed by psych, followed by a main genre of reggae, followed by a subgenre of space rock. So obviously prog, psych and space rock are all subgenres of rock, if you like, and to a huge degree a lot of these things are kind of interchangeable. So a lot of the stuff that's in my space rock could easily be found or filed in my psychedelic rock. And the way that I separate them really is that if an artist has general stuff that's mostly in the space rock, i.e. Hawkwind, they go into space rock and not into any other category. Then we come to world music, which is obviously a category in and of itself. And then we come down to general rock here, and I've divided them A to J and K to Z. So clearly I don't have enough to fill that cubicle there, so I've just put in some books and some keepsakes. For example, Jimmy Earl Suave gave me some huge amount of stuff over the years, and I've managed to keep all the stuff that he sent me, as I have from everybody else. So then it continues the whole way across here. There's my Dylan section there and there. And then it comes to K to Z. Now the reason that I split them A to J and K to Z has got a lot of reason, I believe. The reason for that is Joy Division and New Order I filed together, and Japan and Sylvian I filed together. And that's another point, that where an artist is part of a group, I file the two things together. So for example, Cream will have my Ginger Baker stuff together with the other bloke that was in that group, Scottish guy, whatever his name is. His name eludes me at the moment. And under Japan, I've got David Sylvian next to them as well. Indeed, say the Lemonheads, for example, which falls under L, I'd have A Shame About Ray, followed by All the Lovely 10 Inches from that album, and then followed by the artist Evan Dando. So he's not housed under D, he's housed under L, being the group that he comes from. And that continues across here. It's my print section, then Sonic Youth section, General Rock T to Z, and then finally we come to soundtracks. That's my soundtrack selection there, which is very small. And this is my recent finds, which I've yet to file, clean and categorize. And the final section is my my 7 inches, which I house separately. And again, the way I've filed these is that I've kind of got a general A to Z, and then I've got an acoustic subsection, a krautrock subsection, a Prince subsection, and a wedding present subsection. Now, wedding present isn't stuff that myself and Sarah got as part of our wedding gifts. What wedding present are is obviously the seminal group from Leeds. Fantastic singles band. I was a big fan of their stuff back in the day. I don't really have much indie rock in my collection, and they would be the group that I would listen to mostly from that subgenre. But I also collect, like Ash, we're a great Irish group. I've very few of their singles left, but this is one that I held on to because it's the gold spattered vinyl limited edition of 10,000 my arse. Yeah, so I kept on to that one, and I think I left most of them go. So like one of the great things about singles is obviously the unique artwork that you can sometimes get with them. This is the original public image one, comes in the tabloid like pages, and that's it. That's my lot. So Jamesy, to summarize, what I do is that I do it alphabetically by genre, and then alphabetically by subgenre, and then within each of those sections they're done by artist and then by date of release. Okay, see ya.